You're listening to Beyond the Measure, Episode 7. Listen as I, a young composer, and my wife, a young choir director, interview other music educators in order to gain insight into their own success in the classroom. We have a lot to learn, and we want you to learn with us. No matter your age, ensemble, or experience, this is the ideal podcast for music educators, composers, and students alike. So join us as we go beyond the measure. Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of Beyond the Measure. I'm your host, Christian, here with my co-host,
Kara.
And we are here with another very special guest on our show today. I feel like I'm saying the exact word for word same thing for every intro that we've done so far.
That's
but
fine.
You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I guess. I don't really know how else to add variety. But yeah, we're here with a really special guest today, and a very one of our more unique guests so far as the different sort of perspectives that she's going to be able to bring to the table here. But we have Miss Abigail Payne here. Abigail, thanks for being on the show with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for saying I'm unique.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, and tell us right now what all you do, you know, across the community and all the different. I mean, you do a lot of stuff here, so give us a little bit about what all you do.
Okay, so my life has looked a little bit different the past couple of years. Currently, I'm the executive director for Chorus Abilene, which is a community choir that has 4 ensembles with people ranging in age from kindergarten through senior citizens. And then I also perform. I'm a collaborative pianist. That's what my degrees are in. I'm posing as an administrator. So like this last week, I played for the Vino with the Maestro with the Abilene Philharmonic with Samuel Cook and Lynette Chambers. And so I just gig around. And later today, I'm accompanying auditions for ACU's a cappella choir. So I keep busy.
Oh, yes, you do.
Yeah, chances are, you know, if you live in the Abilene community, chances are if you hear about some sort of music activity that involves a piano, there's a good chance Abigail's going to be there in some way, shape, or form.
I'm either at the piano or in the audience.
Yeah, exactly. So she's a very familiar face around the community, and I should also mention that Dr. Romines, who we interviewed a few episodes ago, he talked about Chorus Abilene, and he's the conductor of the adult classical chorus group of Chorus Abilene. But so Abigail here is the overall, what was the title again?
Executive director.
Executive director. Wow, that's really fancy.
It's
that's
funny
pretty
to
cool.
say.
Now, how long have you been in that position?
I made the great decision to take that job right in the big middle of a global pandemic. August 2020 was my start date.
Oh, wow.
And I had no clue what I was doing. Maybe I still don't, but at least things are getting a little bit more normal in terms of the world. So, yeah, about to finish my second season, and maybe the second half of the season was maybe like a regular, normal season. So, looking forward to next year.
Yeah,
Well, the last couple of weeks, it's been busy for Chorus Abilene.
Yes.
Last week, we had 2 concerts, right? We had a backbeat concert,
yes,
the a cappella group, and then the next day was that the children and
that was the children and youth at Spotlight. It was over at the Nickel, and they did a great job. And then last night we had Encore, which is a cabaret style performance by the classical chorus with soloists and a couple of choir numbers. And that same day we had the children's chorus performing at the YMCA Healthy Kids Day.
I did not know
yeah.
that.
Wow. Man.
Wow.
I'm not sure why I did that to myself, but I think the things went well. So
yeah, oh for sure. Well, it was great. I mean,
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, we really enjoyed, you know, doing that last night, and it was kind of a nice. I mean, yeah, it was still a big event for us, but at least for us,
We kind of got to sit back and relax.
Yeah, as singers.
As singers,
yeah.
So it was kind of a nice reward. It felt like that end of season.
Yeah.
type thing.
Well, and one thing that I love about the some of these cabaret style things is that, you know, you hear everybody singing in a chorus, and it's wonderful to hear how they blend, and then you get to hear them individually.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, you know, and people like, you know, Clarissa Ingalls, for example, sang Bon Jovi, and I was like, I just heard her sing an aria a couple of days ago. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
It was really cool.
And she's about to have her senior recital, classical music, like, man, but that's really cool.
So I remember meeting Abigail like freshman year. you used to be a collaborative pianist at Hardin Simmons. And I remember you were my pianist for like one lesson. And that was quickly changed. I forget why.
It wasn't because I didn't like you.
Oh, no. I know that. I know that. But it was, I was excited, and then we had to change. And I got Corinne, which was great.
She's fantastic.
But that's how I remember we had one lesson, and I like numbered measures.
I remember that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I was like,
and this is very nice. And
yes. Well, you can learn a lot from people about the way that they give you their music. Like, if I've had people leave music for me, and if this is you should feel very bad. I've had people leave me music with no name, or a terrible copy, half of it's gone.
Oh no.
And I'm just like, who is this? And what is happening right now?
Yeah.
But your numbers were measured, and you had your name and like a little heart. And
Probably.
I was like, okay, I like this girl.
Well, and I'll tell you, that was even a big awakening for me, because I did have you as my
Yeah.
accompanist for at least my freshman year.
Yeah,
I think maybe my sophomore year as well.
I think it was freshman, sophomore. Yeah.
At least one, maybe 2 years, but not just with you, but with voice lessons in general. That was a big awakening for me, because I had never taken voice lessons before. So you and Dr. Hollingsworth got to take me under y'all's wing and kind of show me, this is how you do things. And it was good. It was kind of intimidating at first, not because of y'all, but
Just in
just
general.
in general. And there was like a big meeting at HSU like the first week in the School of Music, and they talked to all the freshmen about this is voice lesson accompanist. I don't know why I said
it never sounds right.
Etiquette, and they had all these like, this is what you should do.
Yeah, and I remember like all the
and
upperclassmen like would talk too. I remember Maddie Jones talking and other people. It was intimidating. And then Dr. Rich, she scared me. I love her. She's a woman.
She's great.
Yeah,
I love her.
She's an icon. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And yes, she's intimidating because she's so awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, I just think back to me, like, earlier that year, I had auditioned for the School of Music, and the day before I came down to Abilene for my audition, thank goodness my choir director, Brenda Justice, she knew I was going to have my audition the next day, and she was like, "Now you have music to bring with you, right?" And I was like, "No." She was like, "All right, give me 1 second."
Okay, hang on.
And so she went and got the books for me to bring for my accompanist and everything.
Funny.
If she hadn't done that, then I would have showed up to my audition with
Empty-handed.
memorized music, but no actual music.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but
Composers.
yeah, right. So yeah, that's a whole nother thing we could probably talk about sometime.
funny.
But
Yeah.
well, cool. Well, maybe we could talk a little more in a little while just about accompanists in general, accompanimentists. But for now, could you go ahead and just tell us kind of how you came to want to do music, and just kind of your story and your whole journey? I mean, I know you've done a lot, and I tell this to all of our guests: get as specific or general as you want, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay. Okay. Wow. All right. So my dad was a musician, and he actually taught my mom to sing and play chords on the piano, and he grew up in a very musical family, and so music was always in our home. He gave voice lessons, and I heard him play piano all the time, and so it was natural for all of us to be interested in go into music. My sister and I started piano lessons with Noreen Carson when we were kids, and after my dad passed away, my mom, things were pretty tight financially, and so mom could pay for one 30-minute lesson a month. And with Noreen Carson, who, if I talk about her too much, I get a lump on my throat, because she's just she's one of the reasons that I am what I am. I owe so much to that woman. But she started matching every lesson my mom paid for. She would match one for free. So it was 2 30-minute lessons a month, and then went up to 45-minute lessons a month. And when I was about 16, she said, I've done all I can with you. I need to send you on to somebody else. And I was heartbroken. But I was able to study with Dr. Gustavo Tolosa at ACU. I worked at Caldwell's, paid for my lessons. And then when he found out I was paying for my own lessons, he gave me a big tuition break. So just all of these people have just been so gracious to me. Did my undergrad at ACU, and then did my I worked for a couple of years as a collaborative pianist, and then did my master's at the North Carolina School of the Arts with Dr. Allison Gagnon. She's amazing. I just love her so much. I could just sit here and talk about my teachers all day. I love them.
Oh, yeah.
I went out to North Carolina to see her last fall, celebrating her 20 years there, and she's just amazing. Was on staff at HSU, and it's their staff pianist, and so I worked at the Philharmonic as their education and outreach coordinator with the youth orchestra, and then just like gigged and was interim pianist for Heavenly Rest Episcopal Church. And then somebody was like, hey, you should apply for executive director of Chorus Abilene. And I was like, that's hilarious. And then like another board member, and then one of the conductors, and I was like, I mean, okay. So I applied, and they hired me, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna figure out how to do this. But you do what you have to do. Not that I didn't want the job, I just didn't feel like I was qualified for it.
Sure.
So the secret's out. So I just kind of asked a lot of questions of people that I respected and knew had good skills, and asked a lot of questions of the previous executive director, Gwen Hazeltine. And I've just been kind of making it work and trying some new things. And the organization is growing. So I don't know if that's due to me or the fact that in 2020 and really the last 2 years, I think people have realized how much we need community and people and relationships in the arts, because that's what's gotten us through the pandemic. So I think that has been a big driving force. So I can't even take the credit. I think people are just like, wow, we need people in music. Let's join a choir. So.
It's definitely both. You've definitely done such a good job with Chorus Abilene. I wasn't very familiar with the organization like in college.
Yeah, same here.
But it wasn't until like, and I'm sure some of this has to do with just like us knowing you personally. And you've grown a lot. Like you created a whole new group with Backbeat, and so.
Well, and part of that is just since I've worked with so many musicians in town, I just sort of unashamedly went to them and was like, will you sing in my organization?
Yeah.
I need you. Think of all the things I've done for you. Just kidding. Remember that time I saved you in your recital? So essentially I'm just blackmailing people to sing for me.
Come work for me.
or else.
Yeah. No, but seriously though, I mean, you talk to people over town and they're happy to do it. And I mean, you said, that you had a lot of people when growing up that poured into you and were gracious to you, and then you in turn have done that for the community and everything, and then it comes back to you again. It's just like it's just a cycle, and it's been really great for us, especially as after we graduated college. I mean, Kara, obviously you're still teaching choir, but you're not singing in it. It's still very different than singing in a choir. And then for me, I mean, I graduated and we were both like, well, I'm not really going to sing in college anymore because we're done. So I think like the importance of having those ensembles and those performance opportunities available in the community is so crucial. And one thing I actually want to say from last night during the encore thing, there were so many moments where we just wanted to start crying.
I did cry.
Yeah.
Aww. It was embarrassing. Everyone around me was like laughing. But it was, I don't know what his name is, but it was the first solo he sang Unforgettable. And
Andy Ladyman. Yes.
I started dancing. Was that his granddaughter?
That was his granddaughter.
I started bawling. I was not expecting that. It was just so sweet. Yeah. And such a core memory for her. She's never going to forget that.
Yeah. Sweet moment.
Yeah. And then like when Rich sang Edelweiss for Ukraine but also, and then on top of everything, just having such a wide variety of people, different ages and backgrounds. And it was just, I don't know when the last time I really was able to see, I mean, we've sung with them in choir, in classical chorus this year, but I think being able to actually hear each of them individually, it was just a really good reminder of, celebrating, all of us
Yes.
and everyone individually and what everyone brings to the table. Like it was really cool.
Well, and that's one of the things that I love about the organization is I think the youngest person that sang up there was 19. No, she just turned 20. She just turned 20. And then I don't know how old some of them are, but we had several people that are, senior citizens, have grandchildren. And I love that music doesn't have limits.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, you have to be 21 and look a certain way and be this cool and this. And it's just like, no, we just love you and want you to sing with us.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't have a season either. I mean, we do, we have what you call quote unquote seasons for, just organization's sake. But I mean, you can get a group of people together and sing for other people or perform, play, at any time. So that's awesome.
Well, one of the things that you said was one thing that I wanted to bring up was a lot of times after high school or after college, you lose the opportunity to sing in a choir unless you're at a very standard church, which even church choirs are, those are really diminishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't make a judgment on that either way. It's just that people are losing opportunities to sing together. And there's something so special about raising your voice with the people next to you. The arts for me have been, and that's the thing. I love music, but one of the reasons I love music is the relationships that have blossomed out of that. The people that I've made magical moments with are the people that I remember my whole life. People that have cried in my studio. It's so important, and I'm glad that we're able to offer things for kids, especially for the smaller school districts. Like we have kids from Eula and Jim Ned and homeschool students in small private schools, and I love that. But I think for me, community choir is maybe even more important for the adults.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially like in high school, they tell you to get involved in everything. And I feel like after you graduate high school and college, nobody tells you to get involved anymore. It's like work. You have to work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Work is your life. And like, they don't really talk about hobbies or anything. And so it is very important for adults.
Yeah.
Because work is not fun all the time.
No.
And making connections with people and getting involved is really important.
Yes.
So
I agree.
Yeah. I remember in high school, it was my senior year, we had every school district, there's always like one or two substitute teachers that kind of become known, and no one really wants them to have them as their sub. And because for whatever reason, and this one day, we got one of those subs, and it was this lady, and everyone, when it was, you found out she was going to be your sub, it was kind of like, oh. And it was an English class, and I don't remember exactly what the project was that I was working on. It was some sort of, writing assignment, and I was writing something about music and stuff like that. And the teacher desk was at the back of the class, and I was kind of sitting in the back. And so at one point she had asked me, what I was writing about. And so then I kind of told her, I was like, oh, it's about music. And I don't remember what it was specifically, but she was like, oh, do you like play or sing? And I was like, yeah, I sing in choir. And we ended up having this really long conversation, like the whole class period. And this is a person that a lot of people thought, oh, they're kind of mean. And even I kind of thought that before, but suddenly, like, being able to talk about music, you could tell she loved it, and it was something she was so passionate about. And she was like, oh yeah, I play bass clarinet in our community band, and my husband plays classical guitar, and then so we were just talking, and she was like, oh, music is so important because it'll just stay with you your whole life. And she was older too, but it was like such an eye-opening moment for me to be able to see, especially an older person, that having that kind of opportunity and having music, just it can make such a huge impact and bring so much joy into your life, especially as a kind of person, again, as a student, you looked at it and it was like, oh, I don't think they have any joy.
Right. Why are you cranky?
And for students, it's really important for you to see, I know it's a substitute, but to see your teachers involved in like other aspects, because it makes you realize that, they don't live at school. They have lives outside of teaching. And I think it builds a little bit of empathy in students looking at teachers. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Sure.
and I think also, like, the times that I've played for your choirs or invited them to chorus concerts, and I know you have too, it's like when you see your teacher doing the thing, it makes you respect them more.
Yeah.
And also just, it's like, oh, this is not just Miss Fortner's job. This is something that she's good at and she enjoys.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll keep doing that,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I've shown them like performances of Backbeat. I think it was like our fall concert. I had told them, yeah, and we put this song together in like 8 rehearsals, 1 hour a week. And they're like, what? They're just blown away.
Right.
That,
Or the Abilene Chamber Singers, where we
in a weekend.
An intensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're blown away that, people can do that.
Right.
being an example. Well, and yesterday, as recording this episode, it was yesterday that we interviewed Bill Hardin, and that was one of the things he talked about. Is he said that, well, first of all, it's just really important that as music educators, you should still perform yourself. That's just important, and to remind yourself of why you do what you do, and to be able to do that. But also, he said that for that very reason, it's a huge. It shows your students, it's such a good example for them. And he said that he had students come up to him and say, Mr. Harder, what makes it so cool for us as students is to see that you don't just stand up here and tell us how to sing or how to play. We actually see you go out and do it.
Right.
That you're actually doing it on your own.
Right. Dr. Romine said something similar after he had sung with the chamber singers last month or something. He said, it was a good reminder for me that it's hard to sing in a choir sometimes. He was like, he's like, I stand up here and I wave my arms. And we all know that he's amazing. He's an amazing conductor. But he was like, I needed to be reminded what it's like to be on the other side of the podium. And I thought that was really sweet and good to think about too.
Yeah.
It's on the other side of the podium.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that, like, hearing him say that too, it's like, man, that makes me feel really respected as as a performer.
Right. Right. When your conductor is empathetic towards you and remembers what it's like.
So with going off of all of that, I'm sure there are a lot of, teachers that are listening to this and, they're wanting, they realize, oh, I need to have these sort of opportunities. Or maybe in their community, there aren't really many, maybe there aren't any ensembles that are outside of that. What do you think the best way to kind of go about, starting or trying to incentivize getting something like that started up would be? I know you didn't help found Chorus Abilene, obviously, but, I guess take Backbeat, for example. That was kind of a new thing. But I wonder, what would be the best way to kind of go about doing that?
I think the first thing you need to do is find where the hole is or where the vacuum is and then fill it. Like, for example, there wasn't an a cappella group in Abilene. Now, there had been one at HSU and sort of in flux, but you also had to be a student there.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, that's not something that we have. Let's see if people are interested. And they are. Or when I go to recruit for the children's and youth choruses, AISD has great teachers and great programs. So I'm not going to spend a lot lot of my time trying to get those kids because I know they have opportunities. Get those kids. Wow, that sounds creepy. You know what I mean? Get those kids. Just edit that out. But I am going to go to the smaller districts that if they don't have programs.
Yeah.
So I think you have to find what the community needs and not what you want.
That's good.
I think that is big.
Yeah, and I think even for teachers, like, you want, this is like so off subject, but you want to like perform certain repertoire, but like you have to, you can't just perform Eric Whitaker for your very small high school choir that is
When David Heard.
Oh my gosh. No, but you have to find music that it challenges them enough, but they can still be successful doing it.
It's feasible, yeah.
Yeah.
Let us take a quick break real quick so I can tell you a little bit about this podcast's primary sponsor, which is Christian Fortner Music. That's right, my own music business. This is the primary platform that I use to sell my music, and you can find it at www.christianfortner, that's Fortner, music.com. Now, you may be thinking, oh, I don't know, this guy is a young composer. Does he really know what he's doing? Well, to be honest, none of us composers really know what we're doing, if we're being completely honest with ourselves. But if you want to kind of get an idea of what my music might be like and if it might be a good fit for your ensemble, you can actually get a free copy of music from me. That's right, a free piece of music. This isn't just a study score. This is full score and parts that you can use for your ensemble to perform completely for free. And you can do that by signing up for my mailing list. So if you go to my website, Christian Fortner, that's Fortner, music.com/mailings, you can sign up for my mailing list right there, and you'll get a link in your inbox where you can select a piece of music for either choir, string orchestra, or band. And I should also mention that the choir piece, it can be either an SAB, SA, or TB version. So for any of you out there that are looking for SAB, SA, TB, specific voicings like that, then this might be a good opportunity for you. So yeah, that's about it. Again, if that's something you'd be interested in, just check it out on my website. And now we can get back to the episode.
One of the things that that's been interesting to me since I was 16 is the idea of interdisciplinary arts, whether it's interpretive painting, which I saw when I was 16. No, I was 15. Gustavo Tolosa did a concert with an artist, and my mind was blown. I'd never seen anything like that. And that was one of the reasons that I auditioned to study with him privately, was because I was like, it was just so cool. So I think, what is that phrase? Rising tides raise all ships. And I think especially in a smaller community, we're not in New York City or Chicago or whatever. You have to find ways to work with other organizations and other arts. It grows your audience, but it also grows your perspective as a performer. It helps audiences think in a new way.
Yeah.
So like Chorus Abilene, we had some dancers from Dance Discovery on our Christmas program. And some people came to see the dancers and then were like, oh wow, I really enjoyed that. Like the rest of the program, I'd never heard of this or that or whatever. Yeah. And then other people that came to see the choir were like, oh, Dance Discovery Studios, I'd like to check them out. I like what they did.
Yeah.
So I think finding organizations and other groups to work with is really important, especially in a small community. My teacher at North Carolina, she had a thing on her door that said "Collaborate or Die," and that can be taken a couple of different ways. But I think what it means for me is work well with others, or none of you are going to survive.
Yeah,
and it doesn't have to be a competition. And it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's very true.
There's no reason for it to be a competition.
And and even like in the schools, my choir teacher and my theater, or I didn't take theater, but the theater teacher, they never really worked together. They never did musicals whenever I was there. I don't know if they do now, but they would never do musicals together, and I don't know if that was like a relational thing, like if they just didn't get along, or but that collaborative effort would have helped maybe get more theater kids in the choir and more choir kids in the theater. And like, it's definitely not a competition.
Yeah,
sure.
Especially in the district that I'm in, it'd be really important for that community aspect, because I mean, we have the opportunity to be in band and choir or theater and choir. It shouldn't just be one, or like ride or die type of thing.
Exactly. Well, and as an audience member or performer, if you're not exposed to something, you don't know whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know that I wanted to grow up to be a collaborative pianist until, my freshman year of college. I was required for my scholarship to accompany for like 4 semesters or something. And I started playing, and Mr. Cook, shout out to Mr. Cook, he changed the course of my life. Like October of my freshman year, I was playing for a soprano, and I was really starting to enjoy it. And he stopped the lesson. He said, "Abigail," and I was like, oh no, I thought I was in trouble. He said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, play the piano. I don't know specifically what. And he said, well, you should consider accompaniment because you're very good at it.
Aww.
And by the end of that semester, I knew I was changing from musical performance to a BA so I could get more language because I knew I wanted to do my master's in this. And so it's just things like that. If you're not exposed to it, you don't know if you like it or not.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just a good reminder of, it's easy to be caught up in, okay, I'm just, I'm choir or I'm band, I'm theater,
right.
And separate. It's all part of one bigger team.
Right.
And it reminds me of, I heard about this. I listened to this business podcast, and they talk a lot about this in terms of, practicing for small businesses and there's actually this book that's all about this that they always reference. And it's this idea that, initially it's so easy to get caught up into the go-getter mindset. And if someone acquires a client, then it's like they took away one of your possibilities for success.
Yeah.
And in this context, it'd be like, oh, that student decided to do theater instead of choir. Oh,
how dare you?
They took that student from me.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
no,
bitterness.
that's happened to me. Like,
Sure.
oh, you took all my students away.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't do anything.
Exactly.
I don't know these kids.
Yeah, and so, but what they say is that, no, what you actually want to do is you want to be a go-giver. And
I love that.
And it's the idea that ultimately what's going to help you grow your business, or in this case, your classroom or your ensemble, is to be completely supportive of your quote unquote competition and to actually build bridges instead of burn them, because that's ultimately going to increase more. I mean, the students are going to see like, oh wow, they're really all about teamwork and all about all of us working together. And I actually saw that at my high school. I mean, I know that Julie Rhodes, my assistant choir director that I was under at Rouse High School, she directed like the chorus and everything, like the ensemble during the musicals. And the years following that, following her, the first year she did that with our theater director, I saw that there were a lot of choir kids that started doing a lot more theater stuff, and there were a lot of theater kids that started doing choir. I mean, there were students that I met in the musical and that were in theater that I saw the next year join choir and join show choir and vice versa. And it was a really cool being able to see that kind of bridge, going on between all of that. So, shall I dare say maybe there's even opportunity for that with athletics?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you said that. So one thing that the youth choir did last semester, fall, spring, I don't remember, it's a blur, but they sang at the Abilene Youth Sports Authority put on over at the Dodge Jones Youth Sports Center, they hosted the Taylor County Expo for students. And they reached out to me because I had a conversation with one of them, had just met them like at a KTAB for You interview or something. Gave her my card, whatever. And one of the things I said was, if we're both passionate about youth and I wouldn't want this to be a competition. Like, I don't think that it has to be either or, youth or youth, sports or music.
Yeah.
And she was like, I 100% agree. So she reached out to us and she was like, we've never had any choirs or any music really performed at any of these things. And I wondered if y'all would want to come and do that. So we came and we set up in a gym, and it was kind of a weird gig, but I loved the idea that it wasn't one or the other.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
That's really neat.
So we'll probably do it again.
Yeah.
I read in one of the Southwestern musician magazines that Texas Music Educators Association sends out every month or so. I was flipping through one a while back, and it had like a page on something along those lines of, tips on maintaining relationships with your other teachers and throughout your school and stuff. And there was one person that had said in there, they said I think it was a choir director, they said that they every now and then that they'll go and actually attend football practice, and they'll actually just go and watch and just to kind of show their support. And I mean, I don't know if, I'm sure not everyone has that kind of schedule that would allow them to do that, but I just thought that was really cool to see. That's a really good example of kind of showing,
like the choir.
No, just the director,
teacher?
just the director, to go and show. At least that was the impression I got. But anyways, I thought that was kind of neat.
I've attended I've attended the high school football games, which are much bigger, and those are always fun. But I also attended like the junior high ones, and those your kids get so excited when they see you.
Mm-hmm.
And I witnessed one of my students like score a touchdown, and the next day I had told him that I was there and saw that, and he was so happy. And so it means a lot whenever, you know, you as a teacher take time out of your day, like this is outside of your contract hours,
Right.
to go and like support your students. And I think I went to a volleyball game one time, but yeah, it's really important.
I think that goes whether you're in education or a nonprofit or business, the idea that when people feel appreciated, they go above and beyond what's expected of them. And so in your case, if it's your student, if they feel appreciated by you, they're going to do well for you in your choir.
Yeah, you reap what you sow.
Yeah. It's true.
That's great. That's great.
Oh, I wanted to ask you, you've done like a lot of collaborating with just individuals and choirs. Do you have like any experience, like any stories that you want to like share, good or bad, of like choirs, or like what do you expect as a collaborative pianist from like your students? I don't know.
Okay.
That's like a lot. So just choose one of them.
Okay. Let me think on this for a second.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think in terms of playing for choir, which primarily my playing has been for individuals, but when I've played for choirs, it seems like the energy in the room is sort of determined by the conductor. So if you walk in and the conductor sort of treats you like the help, or asks like, I put the help in quotes because nobody should be treated that way.
Yeah.
But if you walk in and they don't introduce you, if they don't thank you, if they just don't really acknowledge you and just sort of wave your arms and wait for you to play. Because sometimes as a pianist you feel like a robot that plugs in. You dock at the pedals and you just kind of go and then okay, bye, and then you leave. So if the conductor treats you like a colleague, it garners more respect all the way around. I respect them, they respect me, the students respect both of us. The students learn how you treat a collaborative partner or how you treat a stranger, or it's just really respectful. And so the conductor really does either the conductor or in a school setting, the loudest kid determines the energy of that room, and everybody feels it. And hopefully the loudest kid is like a cheerleader and not a bully. But it's not usually the case from what I've seen.
For sure. Well, and it is really important too, like in terms of, you know, like what you were saying. I mean, the conductors definitely need to, you know, acknowledge and recognize, you know, their accompanists and as well, and all of that. And I think about like on an airplane, before an airplane is allowed to leave the dock and take off, they go through this huge checklist of things, and they have to make sure everything is exactly the right way. And if there's even one little thing that isn't correct, then you can't take off. And so because they know that there's, I mean, one little change in the system or in the plane could be catastrophic later on. And so, but anyways, I think it's important to remember that, you know, someone like an accompanist is one thing that it's so easy to forget how important that is. And it's like, they need recognition for that, because if it weren't for them, we'd be going down.
Find the nearest exit. Strap on your life jacket or whatever. Flotation device.
That'd be us. Man.
I just think everybody's important. Whether you're the pianist or the conductor or the singer, none of this works if one of those components gone. I mean, it just doesn't. If you've got a conductor and a pianist but no choir, does it matter? You've got a pianist and a choir, it may work, but not as well. You need a conductor, you know.
Well, and I think the more we talk about all of this, I'm starting to, what I'm getting out of this is that if you want to do music, you need to be a collaborator. Because music at its heart is collaboration. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're singing or performing by yourself only,
Right.
well, it's a collaboration between you and your instrument or you and your
Right.
voice.
Yeah.
You know, you need to learn to work together with things and people outside of yourself.
Right.
You know, and yeah, wow, I'm just kind of realizing this too. This is all new.
Or even in terms of a composer, like,
Yeah.
you know, okay, maybe Robert Schumann is dead. Well, not maybe, he is for sure. And I haven't seanced with him recently, but when you're interpreting his music, or any composer's music, unless you can call him up and have a conversation with Christian Fortner, it's like you're studying this score and you're like, where is the important moment?
Yeah.
Why did they put this chord on this text? What is the truth in this piece? And that's important. And
Yeah.
one thing that Melody Rich, I've heard her say a few times, Dr. Rich, is the music is not about you. It's about serving the music.
Yes, I remember her saying that a lot.
I love that. And
Yeah.
I have to remind myself of that every day. It's not about me. And it almost can help you take some of the pressure off of yourself.
Yeah.
I'm serving the music, you know, and if it's a visual art or if it's a poem or whatever, those things live on the page. There's beautiful paintings in the Louvre and you can go and look and they always look the same way. But as musicians, we're interpreting a page, and until we make a note, it's dead.
Yeah.
It just lives there.
Yeah.
And every time it's different.
Oh man.
How exciting is that?
Yeah, that's huge. Well, and I'll describe it this way. This is my own personal, how I go about writing music, and this is kind of getting into the weird, why do we do music philosophy stuff that I'm sure a lot of other composers out there would think differently. But the way I think of it is actually even very similar, even for me who writes the music, is I think of it more as like, I don't think of it as like I am coming up with brand new
Like
music.
you're the creator.
No, I'm thinking, okay, music is almost like an essence that already exists in and of itself, and I'm just trying to bring it into physical form.
Right.
And so like when I'm writing a piece of music and, you know, something comes to mind and I write it down and I think, okay, what is it trying to tell me? Not what can I do with it? Well, what is it trying to tell me? And then it's just a matter of deciphering where it's wanting to go. So it's almost like it already exists. It just hasn't been written down yet.
I love that.
And so it's like maybe I've written 32 measures and there's a certain, I know it's this, you know, half cadence here, but what's coming after that? Is it really a PAC? You know, or am I going to go to but I'm not thinking theoretically. I'm just thinking in terms of the sound, like, well, what is it wanting to do? Like, like how can I serve it to the, because once it's done, I want it to be as close to its identity that it should have been from the beginning. So anyways, I don't know, it's just kind of
It sounds like when I cook.
You're right.
I might start with a recipe. I never follow it.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
But it's like you go along and, well, what does this need? Well, what would make it? And you're just kind of finding
Yeah.
out, and then you end up with this dish and you're like, wow, that needed 14 cloves of garlic.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's why it's so good.
Exactly. And
It's
like
my spaghetti.
it's like maybe not necessarily thinking in terms of the recipe or theory, you know, what you should, you know, technically are supposed to do, but what is it trying to tell you? Hey, do this. I'm wanting to go over here.
Yeah.
Take me over there. So
I want to collaborate with a chef now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
kind of
that's
interesting.
Yes.
Let's try to get
Next
Gordon Ramsay on
season.
here.
Yeah.
Let's get Gordon Ramsay on our music education.
He
podcast.
scares me.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
That chord is raw.
That rubato was garbage.
Yeah.
That's
it's
funny.
funny.
And this doesn't have to go on the podcast, but when I was little, I remember thinking, and I'm talking like 9 or 10 years old, because this is the weird kid I was worried that by the time I was old enough to write some music, that all of the tones would be used, and it's like they would have been used in every variation. There would be nothing left for me.
Oh man.
But there's no end to it.
Yeah.
It just keeps going.
I still think about that. I like, even though I know it's not
Right.
but I'm just like, and going back to that go-getter versus go-giver thing is, it's like, it's going to sound so selfish, but like maybe I'll hear a piece of music that a new a new piece of music that came out by some composer, and I hear it and it's like, oh, if only I had thought of that before that.
Right. Yeah, right.
It's like, that could have been my piece, but it's like, maybe, probably not.
Right.
But, you can only figure out what is, graced upon your presence, your conscience, it's just kind of interesting thing.
But also art is derivative. So whatever
Yeah.
you're, and that's why music history is so important. You're responding to what's happening socially, historically.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was talking about this with Dr. Romines just yesterday. We were talking about counterculture, and he was saying, well, that's how it goes in periods of music.
Yeah.
Baroque was a response to Renaissance. Classical is a response to Baroque.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, Mozart perfected the classical period, and so Beethoven had to do something different. It's like, okay, well, he sort of closed the chapter on that. Let's do something different. You know?
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like even like pop music today is like a response to a lot of music of the 1900s. And I think jazz kind of was one of those things that kind of came out of a lot of that too. It was kind of more of that, I don't know, I'm getting into the weird philosophy, theory, music history that I'm probably not qualified to talk about at all. But like nowadays it's like I always wonder, man, why is this song so popular? It sounds horrible. Or like it sounds like there's barely anything there, and yet it's like, and yet so many people like it. But I wonder if it's maybe because there's like, I don't know, simplicity, or I don't know. I don't know if we'll put this in the podcast.
Right.
But,
No, it is fun
just,
to find out what moves people. And from what I've gathered is it's rhythm.
Yeah, sure.
Rhythm is what moves people.
Yeah.
And then second to that is volume.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, even for me, a lot of my music is rhythmic, and look at me right.
Yeah,
y'all can see right now I'm moving my arms up.
He's always shaking his leg.
Yeah, it's like
He never stops moving.
Yeah, you can just feel it in your soul.
Feel it in your body. Well, even in terms of the second Viennese school, if you're using a 12-tone row, it might sound like complete random.
Uh-huh.
But if you organize it in terms of rhythmic patterns that make sense,
yep.
Oh,
yeah,
this works,
You're exactly right.
So it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that rhythm is, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like its own way of kind of ingraining something into your, into your head and making it memorable.
That's why songs help people remember facts.
Yeah.
ABC songs.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, a lot of my students are in Spanish, and they asked me if I could play like the Spanish alphabet on YouTube or whatever, so they all started singing it. Like the A, B, C, E, D, or I forget. But I mean, they were singing, so I mean, but it was just funny. Yeah,
that's a good example
good way
right
to
there.
Remember everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good example. The ABCs. I mean, it's one of the first things you learn as a kid.
Right.
And it's a song. It's not really, English or like,
just phonics.
Writing stuff you're learning. You're really learning a song.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So.
Definitely don't put this in there, but my German teacher, my first German teacher, the way she helped us remember certain, I think it was dative pronouns, was she put it to the tune of the Blue Danube. Außer bei mir noch sein Fahrzeug. And it was like, so I'll always remember that.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Oh, no. In 7th grade, we learned a preposition song. And I remember the whole thing. I won't sing the whole thing, but it was like, about, above, across, after, along, among, around.
Yeah. Oh, my
before,
goodness.
Beside, between, against, within, without, beneath, through, or something like that.
In like 4th grade.
Nice.
Yeah. Well,
I'll have to find that one for
you're
Joe.
really smart.
I didn't know that
Yeah,
one.
right.
Yeah.
But then they made it a competition to see who could sing it the fastest, and somehow I did it in like under 5 seconds.
What?
That's
still
not possible.
I didn't think I did that even in the moment that I sang it. I was like, "There's no way that was only 5 seconds." But that's what they were timing, and that's what they said. I don't know. Anyways,
Were you practicing this in your home, like getting ready for it?
No, but in like the couple minutes leading up to it, I was in my head.
Very dedicated then.
And that's when my musical career began.
The rest is history.
Yeah. Anyways, what were we originally talking about?
I don't know.
I don't know. You're gonna have to edit so much.
Yeah.
No, this is fun.
No, it's good though. Well, you need to have some of this random.
Tangents.
It wouldn't be a real podcast if it was all just, down to business.
Reading a
Did,
script.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is related or if it's applicable at all to what y'all are trying to do, but I think something for young musicians to keep in mind is how well-rounded you have to be and the different skills that you have to have. Because,
Yes.
and that's one thing that I loved about the North Carolina School of the Arts is that there were entrepreneurial classes and things, because you can't, the days of being an artist with a manager are over. I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
I mean, sure there are some, but
Mm-hmm.
that's like 1% of musicians in the world or something. So having other information and other skills, learning how to market yourself or your organization.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and I knew that was the case, but not until I had this position did I realize as a one-woman person, actually that's not true, because now I have Monique working in the office.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
8
that's
to 10
great.
hours a week, which is fantastic. Love you, Monique. Don't ever leave. But it's like, okay, I need to learn how to do accounting. I need to learn about graphic design,
Yeah.
marketing, social media,
Oh, man.
PR, how to talk
Yeah.
without stumbling over my words.
That's me.
Same.
And there's the music part is like the basis. And
Yeah.
it's good to know how to do other things. Also, to have other hobbies and other interests, because if all you do is sit in a practice room, you have nothing to draw from.
Yeah.
Like, you have no depth to pull out a new interpretation, because it's just, well, I practiced at this piano for 5 hours today, and that's now I'm going to go home and read by myself. Yeah.
Well, that reminds me. I think Dr. Sherrod mentioned something about that too, is that,
Yeah.
I mean, you can just practice one thing, whatever it is, a lot, and you may get really, really good, but it's still going to be hard to do that in regards to music, this kind of music, because there are still so many other areas that you're going to have to do as well.
Right.
And I'm actually, I mean, I can tell you right now, for me as a composer, I'm in a very similar position as that. And y'all probably wondered in the past few episodes, why does he keep referencing business podcasts and books and stuff? Well, it's because I've had to start studying business and marketing and all that kind of stuff you were just saying for
Grant
myself as
writing
a composer. And,
Yeah.
and that was part of the reason I even had the idea to do this podcast to begin with, that, we thought would be good. And so, yeah, I mean, that's something that you kind of have to branch out and be able to do. And that goes for teachers as well, not just musicians, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Kara, have you had any instances this year of extra stuff you've had to learn how to do? And
yeah, I mean, I was fortunate, like Dr. Romines really helped me in my last semester on like things that I would have to do, but I had to come up with the whole entire, I mean, you have to come up with programs, how to design a program, how to, I don't have a booster club, so budgeting, I don't know, other things I was thinking about and I've forgotten. Communicating with parents.
oh yeah, it's kind of like PR.
Yeah.
How do I phrase this in such a way?
Yeah, and other things like that. I've had to do a lot, especially since it's just me. But
I think fundraising and community support
that's
are just
another thing. Fundraising,
and there's only so much when you're, especially music education, the amount of hours in your degree are so there. I mean, there's so many already. If you were to add in everything that you have to be able to do, you would never graduate.
no.
Yeah, man. Well, and I'm thinking, obviously, yeah, I mean, that's all stuff you're going to have to do as a teacher. So, if you're in a position where, especially as a student, I think that's when it comes really important. When you're a student in college is a great opportunity to practice those different aspects, because there are so many opportunities to get involved and to take up leadership positions and to fundraise for in choir we fundraised for trips and we were in our music fraternities, and that was some leadership stuff, and we helped put on events, and I mean, that was definitely stuff that helped prepare us for that. So if you're listening to this and you're a music student, don't just go to class.
Yeah,
That's
get
just
involved in something that'll help you.
Yeah, because it's still going to help what you do.
And try new things and learn new skills while you have that safety net.
Yes.
Because that's when the safety net is gone, that's a lot harder, you know, and it's like, oh, I hope this works.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Yeah, for sure. I guess we kind of already said it. Going back to when we were saying, you know, when we were talking about what does the community need versus what you want. I mean, the same can be said for, you know, as a teacher, what does your ensemble need versus what do you want to do? And Carrie, you said something like, you know, you want to, you know, you wish you could be able to do a big Eric Whitacre piece.
Yeah,
or
and
something
it's not something that I really
well, I mean,
wish
like,
for. But I
if
mean, you know, if
someone
there's a
wished-
song, if there's a piece that I really, really want to do this, but I don't. If my choir is not going to be successful, that's not good.
yeah.
Because if they are unsuccessful, then it's less motivating for them because they're like, oh, then we suck. So
Yeah. Well,
we don't want to try.
And it's like you need to be able to do what you need first so that you can do what you want later.
And that's whenever preparing for UIO, there are a lot of schools, choir programs that like, you know, want and like program these like challenging pieces for whatever reason, whether it's like to showcase or show off or I don't know. But if your choir, you're that's an adjudicated performance. You definitely like. Whenever I talked to other teachers about whenever I was starting to program, they're like, you need to do songs that are not, I mean, they're easy for them because if they're easy, then they're going to be successful, but pose some sort of challenge. I mean, we already talked about this, but it's really important for those adjudicated performances too.
Well, and like as a composer, for any young composers listening here, I would love to be able to write, you know, 15, 20, 30-minute long, giant epic orchestral works for full orchestra and choir and to get and to get a big group to be able to do that. And if you have the opportunity to do that, then great, go for it. But it's like, I realized, well, what do, you know, if I want to, you know, be successful and be able to have, you know, get my music spread as far and wide as I want to, it's like, well, I need to be able to provide music that people need, you know, right now. What's something that people really need? Well, they really need SAB music.
Right.
And so I've started writing SAB music. But also it's really helping me learn to, you know, write in a way that is accessible, but also still making it, integrating my own style and making it fun and everything. And, you know, initially I thought, well, I don't really know if I want to write, you know, SAB or TB music for middle school boys. But now that I've kind of started dipping my toe into it, it's actually unlocking a lot more creativity.
I was going to say, y'all remember Andy Rodriguez, composer from HSU? Was he gone when y'all?
You know,
he was gone, but we did perform one of his pieces.
That's right.
This last fall with the Abilene Chamber Singers.
So we don't know him personally, but know who he is. Yeah.
Well, I really enjoy his music, and I keep in touch with him. But a trio that I was a part of, we commissioned a piece for him when he was, I think, a senior in college. And one thing that he said to me that was really struck me was he wanted to know what sort of battery I wanted for my percussion, like what all instruments are you going to be using. And I was like, well, just because it was piano, viola, and percussion. And I said, well, the sky's the limit. Like, you just do what you want. And he said, let me see the instrumentation that you're using on the other pieces performed in this. He said, because I find that I'm able to be creative when I have limitations.
Yes.
And I was, and we had that conversation in the library, and he's a little younger than me. And I was, that sort of blew my mind. And I was like, oh, wow. And I'm finding that to be true even in my job. Like, okay, my limitations are, I'm one person in a small community with the organization that I'm trying to grow. I've got to be very creative because of those limitations. And it makes you think in different ways.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
Abso-freaking-lutely. So,
yeah.
Well, something Kara said about choosing pieces that will make your students successful but still learn. One thing that I have to work on and that I'm realizing I'm still terrible at is reasonable expectations. of myself and things that I'm in charge of. Because I am like, I want it to be good. So if I work myself to death, by gosh, it's going to be good, you know? And it's like, and I thought about it yesterday. Probably no less than 3 people said, "Hey, have you eaten today?" I'm like, I'm about to, you know, and it's like, what time did you leave the office? 11 p.m. Okay, well, that's stupid. So what I need to do is have reasonable expectations, but also for like the choirs, for example, the youth and children, they're doing great. Well, I just came out of working in academia for 10 years. I have to think of differently. These are elementary students. They meet once a week. What are they going to be successful at? And not that I'm choosing the repertoire, but just thinking in terms of, you know, when I leave a concert, go, for that age group, for the amount of time that they've practiced, that was successful.
Yeah.
And so it's just whatever you're working in, have reasonable expectations of yourself and others.
That's huge.
You will be happier. And I'm really learning that, trying to.
Which reminds me, Abigail, have you eaten today?
Yeah. Have you?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I had leftover sausage and pretzel bites from our event last night.
All right.
From Grain
Those
Theory.
were good.
They had leftovers, and I was like, no man never do.
Yeah, those are good.
Reheated those,
Oh, I do remember what I was going to say a second ago in terms of the creativity thing. No, that reminds me of back when Avengers Endgame came out, and it still feels like that movie just came out, but that was like, what, 3 years ago now? That's crazy. Leading up to like the release of the movie, you know, they do all these PR things where they interview like the actors and the directors, and they do videos. And so I was watching a whole bunch of those, you know, leading up to that movie. And I remember watching an interview with the Russo brothers who directed, you know, the movie. And they said that, I specifically remember them saying that they would deliberately, when they were writing the story, they would deliberately write the characters into a box, or they would like deliberately write them into a situation that seemed impossible for them to get out of, like plot wise, because they said that's when the most creative ideas for the story come out of. And I just thought, wow, that's really cool.
That is really cool.
But that's exactly like what you were just saying with like Andrew and having those limitations as well. And in regards to the classroom, you know, and I mean, there's a lot of people that maybe feel very, very limited, but I don't know, take that as a little thought of maybe you're on the brink of discovering a really, really creative idea that maybe may not work for a really large 5A high school or something, but it could work for your smaller school in the small community.
Well, that's when new things are created out of need. If we didn't need something, we wouldn't make it.
Right.
And the further humans go, the more we create. And, you know, maybe some of it isn't necessary, but not everything, the best inventions have been created out of a need.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
I'm grateful for whoever came up with toilet paper.
Yeah.
You know, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think Henry Ford, I think he said that if he had asked, you know, everyone, you know, during his time what all they really needed, they would have said they wanted a faster horse or something like that. I mean, they couldn't even imagine the idea of, like, you know, everyone driving around in cars.
Right.
Like that just wasn't even a thought. And yet 10 years later, the horses were gone.
Right. It's like, well, we can't make a horse any faster, so we have to do something different.
Exactly. Exactly. So like you said, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Alrighty. Well, is there anything else you want to say or ask?
If you want to just go ahead and plug Chorus Abilene.
Yeah. If you are a singer of any age that is interested in singing with other singers, then you should definitely go to chorusabilene.org. Read a little bit about us and reach out to me personally. I would love to talk to you, and we will find an ensemble for you.
Yes.
Cool.
There's 4.
And hopefully 5. We want there to be 3 youth and children's ensembles if we have enough people because it's the boys whose voices are changing.
Right.
Yeah.
They determine your choir membership for kids. So
They control everything.
they do.
No, they do.
Yes, all the power in their weird little hands.
That's such a scary thought.
Don't let them know.
Yeah.
No, I will never.
Well, we'll be sure to link the Chorus Abilene website as well as social media and all that fun stuff in the description. Anything else you want to add before we go?
Just thank y'all for what y'all are doing. I appreciate both of you. Educators, composers, you're interested in the community, great singers. I appreciate both of you, and thank you for having me on. Made me feel very special.
Oh, thank you, Abigail. Thanks for all you do. It's been great.
Thanks.
Well, that is it for this episode for this week. We hoped you enjoyed this episode. I know I did. It's always fun talking to Abigail. And
there was a lot of good stuff in there.
yes.
One of the things that I think really stuck with me was kind of learning to do what you need versus what you want. I mean, and I think there is to a certain degree, like you should still do what you want to a certain extent because that can be healthy for you.
Don't make it like miserable or anything.
Yeah, of course. But being able to do, having the willpower and just learning to do what, hey, we got to do this right now. Maybe it won't be very fun to me but we got to do it.
Yeah. And I think so, to kind of tie it in with, teaching, students do not like sight reading is what I've come to find out.
I still don't like sight reading.
I always did. So I could never really relate,
You're weird.
But it is necessary. Sight reading is very necessary. No matter what they think. And I try to emphasize that a lot. And they don't like singing on solfege either. They want to go straight to the words, but I have this huge speech about why I start with solfege. You have 3 things that you have to look at whenever you're learning music: the pitch, the rhythm, and the words. If you take away the words, it makes it easier for you. Now you are just solely focusing on pitch and rhythm, and that makes it easier for you to learn in the long run. And when I put it into terms like that, usually they kind of understand, but it's necessary is what I'm trying to go back to.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, that is something that you want to emphasize to your students as well. And whether it's in regards to sight reading or just what you're doing in class in general, is maybe you hear a bunch of, moans and groans whenever you say, all right, we're going to be doing this, or we're going to perform this piece or whatever. And, but I think it's up to you to really tell them, hey, look, I want to do this other stuff too, but we can't do that
until
we
do all of these things.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's huge. Anything else that kind of stuck out to you?
I think the creating or being creative with what, like, the limitations that you have. I'm in a small school district, by myself, teaching middle school and high school, and I've had to be really creative with things, that I specifically have limitations on. Like, do I combine the junior high and high school concerts together so I only have one concert? Or do I split them? You have to be creative with what you got.
Yeah, for sure. Just remember that, whatever scenario you are in, there are things that could be really, really good for you specifically compared to someone else. And I think of, like, in terms of, like what you were saying with, being at a small school in a really small community. Well, one thing that pops out to me that I would assume is that, being able to put on some sort of performance, I think in a small town makes a much bigger splash than it would in a large town.
Yeah. Small communities love that type of stuff. Like Clyde loves going to the football games. Clyde loves parades. They do little things, and that's how you can get your program involved. Sing at a parade or sing at like a little small thing in town that will increase their excitement. and increase the community support for you.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's just some really good stuff. I mean, there was a lot of other stuff in there as well. So we hope you enjoyed listening today. We will be back next week with another episode. Until then, if you haven't already, please give us a review, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or whatever other platform you listen on. That would help us immensely, as well as giving us a 5-star rating. Ooh, that was kind of a nice echo surround sound.
Really?
Yeah, we both said it at the same time.
Oh.
That's kind of cool. Or at least in my headphones it did. I don't know if it'll sound that way in the final recording. But yeah, anything else you want to add before we go?
Chorus Abilene. If you're in the Abilene area and want to sing.
Do it. Do it. Or we encourage you just to get plugged into a community choir in your community, even if you're not in Abilene, because there are choirs, and I say choir, I mean ensembles in general.
Ensembles.
Choirs, ensembles, wherever you're at, go for it. I think, for us personally, there have been some times, even with Chorus Abilene, there have been some times where it's every now and then, we're busy and it's like, oh man, we're so tired, so exhausted. Oh, now we have to go to rehearsal tonight. But
I
in
always
the end,
feel good after the rehearsal.
Yes,
it's always so worth it.
Yes, and in the end, it's like, we get to perform, and it's doing a lot for the community and inspiring students and everything. And plus, for you composers, to talk from my composer side of things, one of the best things you can do to learn, to help your writing process, is to attend rehearsals, to be in an ensemble. So you always want to make sure you continually do that.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Well, we will see y'all next week. Adios.